Now, a new report has revealed more Australians are escaping to the country, with regional centres providing affordable housing, a better work-life balance and great investment opportunities. The pandemic has forced thousands to work from home, proving that you can work anywhere. Now talk is emerging around whether businesses should be looking to invest more in flexible working arrangements and decentralising. Joining me now is the Deputy Prime Minister and Leader of the National Party, Michael McCormack. Deputy Prime Minister, thanks for joining us.
Gleeson, they're not escaping to the country, Gleeson, they're flocking to the country. They're absolutely flocking in droves. 65,000 of them have decided that a tree change is the lifestyle change that they want, Gleeson, and good luck to them. Well done, I say.
Well, I was going to say, Michael, that they've finally cottoned on to the fact that what you and I have known for many, many years, and that is that regional and rural and country Australia is God's gift. It's God's gift.
Absolutely, and I've been banging on about it. I've heard you say it time and again on this wonderful show that there are so many lifestyle options in regional Australia, whether it's country, coastal, rural or indeed remote. There are so many opportunities. And Gleeson, you know as well as I do that COVID-19, if it's taught us one thing, it's the fact that you can do any job just about anywhere in Australia, and with telecommunications being what they are, particularly in rural and regional Australia, you know, you can get on those teleconferences, those video conferencing, and you can do it from your own lounge room, indeed, and you can be in touch. You can have the productivity, but you can also have the lifestyle. You can be, if you are working in an office situation in a regional centre, you can be 5-7 minutes from work, no traffic lights, no congestion, no hustle, no bustle, no getting frustrated going to work, and you can arrive. And I always say about these regional centres, they are big enough in which to get a good cup of coffee, but they're still small enough to care, so that if something, does happen or go wrong, there are people who can wrap their arms around you and provide that care and support that, people from time to time need.
Are you worried about the spike in coronavirus cases in Victoria, particularly as we've seen a number of state premiers and territory leaders really looking to lift those restrictions? And I think, I was just speaking to your colleague, Senator Amanda Croker, and we're a little bit concerned that Anastasia Palaszczuk, who's never been very quick off the mark when it comes to suggesting the borders will be lifted anytime soon, she's now sort of backtracking on that July 10 date.
Well, I think what we need to do in this situation is make sure that we've got the necessary resources available in the necessary places. And I say to those Victorians, if they're in one of those hotspot areas, stay at home, practice what the Chief Medical Officer, Professor Brendan Murphy, has said all the way through, and that's you need to be your best self. If they haven't already downloaded the COVID Safe app, they've got to do that. That's first and foremost, but they should stay at home if they're in one of those Victorian hotspots. Yes, of course, Premier Daniel Andrews in Victoria has asked the Commonwealth for defence assistance, and we will readily supply and provide that for the necessary quarantine, and etc. This is one in, all in. All Australians need to assist one another. It's not a matter of Victoria versus Queensland or Victoria versus New South Wales. We as the Commonwealth stand ready to help wherever and however necessary, and we're doing just that, Peter.
Now, I only learned tonight that China is Australia's biggest foreign investor in water. But I want to have a chat to you, Deputy PM, about water. We now see that 2 states in the ACT are jeopardising the Murray-Darling Basin plan, which is now at risk. I mean, this must be a real concern for you as the guy that basically represents your constituency is farmers who rely so heavily on proper irrigation and access to water. How do we solve this? Because we're now talking that this 2024 deadline for the Murray-Darling Basin plan could be at risk.
Well, there are many who'd like to see the plan blown up, and it's been so hard fought to get where we are now. And I know that Keith Pitt is working closely with those groups, with irrigation groups, with key stakeholders. Yes, the issue of water rights is a vexed one, and of course, it was the farmers themselves who also, back some years ago, wanted land and water separated so that they could, if they wanted to retire on their farms, be able to sell their water. And I understand that. I get that. It's a valuable commodity. There's no more valuable resource in all of Australia than water, because it helps us grow the food and fibre that we need to support 25 million Australians and 50 million others besides. That's how much food we grow. In Australia, we support 75 million mouths, and that's a really important issue. But of course, I also, as the Minister responsible for water infrastructure, very pleased that we've put in place the National Water Grid. We need to build the dams with state cooperation. I'm glad that we're getting cooperation on that very aspect. So we build the water infrastructure, we can store it when it falls, we can then harness and harvest it for when we have dry periods. But it is a vexed issue. I know the Water Minister, Keith Pitt, is working very closely. He's got a number of reviews about to land on his desk, and he's also looking at some others at the moment. And we'll work closely with key stakeholders to make sure we get the right balance. It's also always about getting the right balance, Peter.
Now, I know you've been keeping a very close eye on this deal to save Virgin as Transport and Infrastructure Minister. It now appears almost certain that they will take up the offer from the Queensland Government and maintain their headquarters here in Brisbane. What's the latest on that from your perspective, and are we getting to the pointy end, pardon the pun?
Oh, we're getting very close to the pointy end, and you know, the next week we'll be telling as far as this voluntary administration process goes. We want a market-led solution. We've said that all the way through. We want as many jobs and as many of those services retained in whatever the new structure is. Importantly, I'm pleased that both final bidders have also said that they will honour all the frequent flyer and all the other ticketing arrangements that were done prior to voluntary administration process beginning. And that's really important, Peter, because people need to have that comfort and knowledge that, that the money they have shelled out will be honoured with either a ticket or indeed with those flights that as part of a frequent flyer process. So we'll work through that process through Nicholas Moore, who's the government person who's liaising closely with Deloitte, who's running this process, and I'm sure that Deloitte are spending, I know they are, they're burning the midnight oil as far as working through the two final bids. We'll get there. It's going to be a very interesting process over the next week, but the important thing is that we have two commercially viable airlines coming out of this whole voluntary administration process. That's why every aspect of our $1.3 billion of assistance has been sector-wide, Peter.
Now, I know you love a good feed of crab, a good feed of prawns. You've announced today $4 million to market Australia's seafood into foreign destinations. I bet you that's been very well received by fishermen around the country, professional fishermen.
Oh, indeed it has, and I know how hard David Littleproud, the Agriculture Minister, and Jonathan Dunihan, who looks after fisheries, have fought to make sure that this has become a reality. Australian seafood, best in the world, Peter. You know that, I know that, and so do many Australians. And we want to share that experience with so many people overseas, and of course with trading relations are somewhat a little bit difficult at the moment. We need to make sure that we diversify our markets, and we need to make sure that whether it's Geraldton lobsters or whether it's the wonderful salmon coming out of Tasmania or whatever the case might be, that it's got a market to go to, because whilst it's important that we have a domestic supply to satisfy our palate, the fact is we get those taste sensations going overseas as well.
Now, I know your government is incredibly supportive of the tourism industry here in Australia, who of course has really struggled as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. And I know that you've got plenty of seats there on the Gold Coast. In fact, you dominate, the LNP dominates the number of seats there. But today I thought it was pretty poor policy for your government to come out and pull the rug from the theme parks and withdraw that loan funding availability. And suggest that these theme parks are now on their own. They're really doing it tough, Deputy PM. Surely it would be incumbent upon a government that's so supportive of tourism in this country to have another look at that.
I'm also incumbent on the Queensland government too. I mean, we've so far provided $260 billion of assistance to so many sectors, to so many industries. We've put in place JobKeeper, which has supported and kept engaged so many workers with their operations, with their businesses. We can't do it all, Peter.
Job losses
we need to draw the line somewhere.
Economy.
Sorry, Peter. Just missed that last comment of yours. I've got your back.
No, I didn't say anything. I think
always got your back, Peter. And we've also got the tourism. We've also got the tourism industries back. And you know, we will of course support arts. We will support the entertainment industries. I know as well as anybody just how important the Gold Coast is. Those theme parks. I've taken my kids there for holidays to Movie World and all those theme parks many times. But it's not just the theme parks. It's also Cairns. It's the Whit Sundays. You know, and we have provided assistance in the form of JobKeeper and other measures. It's also up to the Palaszczuk government to look at their borders and to ease those restrictions. It's also up to the Queensland government to come on board and provide some assistance as well. It can't be just left up to the Commonwealth to do all the heavy lifting, Peter.
Michael McCormack, it's always great to see you. Great to have you on the show again tonight. Thank you.